You may or may not know I'm a big fan of birth affirmations, and yes, some of them are super corny, but I think they're really powerful and can be really, really helpful, especially the corny ones. You know what? Especially the corny ones. So, in the spirit of I have now given birth 3 times and would like to pass on a little bit of wisdom that I have, I'm going to share with you birth affirmations that actually helped me. So in my first birth, I had never done it before and was kind of like, what if I can't do it? I remember asking my midwife that at 37 weeks, and she was like, oh, honey, you can. It's this wild experience of doing this incredible thing, and you just had no idea that your body could do it. But I really clung to these 2 birth affirmations. Number 1, my body knows what to do, my baby knows what to do. And number 2, every contraction brings me closer to my baby. Now, I will say, in my experience, my first birth was the most gloriously hormonal experience where it was euphoric, and it actually was not painful. It was intense at times. Transition was painful, but actual labor was really intense, but I never to this day would describe it as painful. And I do think that helped, okay? But these affirmations also carried true for my subsequent births. But my body knows what to do, my baby knows what to do. So I would feel things happening, contractions, and I would just kind of remind myself, like, everything is happening how it's supposed to be happening. My body, even though my body has never done this, it is so instinctively ingrained into my body that my uterus knows how to get this baby out. And my pelvic floor, I need to like relax and chill and let the pelvic floor get out of the way, but it knows that baby is coming out. And the baby kind of knows what to do too, just very instinctively. And I remember even talking to my baby and being like, it's okay, I know we've never done this before, but we know how to do this. And every contraction brings me closer to my baby, of course. So that's a nice one for when things are hard. And I just remember thinking like, ooh, this one does hurt, like transition. And just thinking that means I am one step closer to meeting my baby. Now, my second birth experience. Will my second end up being the problem child? Let's find out, because that birth was really hard for me. But I think a big part of it was my mindset. I thought, second birth, my first was 9 hours, so my second will be like 4 hours. And the first was so easy, the second will just slide right out of me. And it was not like that. Granted, he was almost 2 pounds bigger, so that could have been part of it. He was positioned differently than the first. But really, I think I just had unrealistic expectations. I thought it was going to be so incredibly easy, and it was so not. It was very difficult for me, and it was painful. And I kept thinking, I remember telling my midwife, because it was painful, and my first time, the only painful part was transition, I remember telling my midwife, I must be in transition. This is way too long to be in transition. And she said at one point, I'm not convinced you're in transition, which was really just her way of saying, this is a harder labor, and yes, it's painful. And that's just the reality of it sometimes. So with my second, because I thought it would be so much shorter, and because the pain was, going on for so long, for one thing, I thought, this is why people get epidurals. I finally understood. And I also kept looking at the clock, because I was thinking like, I was so set on like how short this labor was going to be and hoping things would speed up and be over, because it was so unenjoyable. But I will never forget reading in one of my favorite books, Yoga Mama by Linda Sparrow. She says, cover the clocks, which I like to take as a birth affirmation now. Cover the clocks. Don't look at what time it is. Don't focus on what time it is, how long you've been doing this, if that's going to dishearten you, because it very much disheartened me. At like 2:30 in the morning, I remember asking the birth team, does anybody want to take bets on when this baby is coming out? And my midwife said, I'm going to be bold and say by 3 a.m., so within the next 30 minutes. And I was like, yes. And I just felt like she must be right. He wasn't born for like another 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours later. That was rough, right? So just don't look at the clock. Cover the clocks. I wish I had done that with my second. Ironically, with my third, looking at the clock actually really helped me, but I was in a better space mentally. When I was in transition, I asked everyone, I said, what time is it? And my midwife was like, it's Friday at 3 p.m. It was like Thursday morning at 9 a.m. So she was just like making up a random day and time. But I was like, no, really, I want to know what time it is, because I want to know how long I've been doing this, to encourage myself that if I've done it for that long, I could do this over again. Like I could keep going, So the whole clock, the whole timing mentality played out very differently in my third birth, because I had a different mindset about it. But my favorite birth affirmation for my third birth, this guy, was kind of without realizing it. I kept saying or thinking, down and out, down and out. I was so incredibly in tune with my body on my third birth that I could feel, and I feel like if I had paid more attention, I could have had this experience with numbers 1 and 2. But with the third, I could feel and even visualize the baby actually moving down into my body, moving into my pelvis, getting lower with each contraction. It was this insane thing that I didn't realize I could be so incredibly in tune. It was like I could see a diagram of my body and like literally watch him moving down. And so with each contraction, with its intensity, I would just be using my hands and I would be saying down and out, down and out, down and out. And I would either be thinking it or saying it. And it was kind of me, I think, encouraging my baby to keep moving, and even my body too. But it was an interesting experience with my third because I had done it 2 times before. And yes, every birth is different. So I had never done that birth before. But I kind of felt like I was telling my body, and especially my baby, like, it's okay, I've done this before, you're in good hands, you just got to move down and out, and I'm right there with you, I'm waiting for you, you're doing great, we're doing great together. So those are my favorite birth affirmations that actually helped me. But I have a ton more, and I mean, you can Google them, but I've put them in a nice little PDF for you in the resource section of the Birth and Beyond members library. Feel free to leave a comment, send me a message, and tell me what birth affirmation helped you. And if you hear my voice, this sounds creepy, but people have told me this. If you hear my voice during your labor, please tell me, because that's super encouraging and a little creepy, and I'm okay with that. But I wish you the best of luck in your labor. I hope that you have a positive and empowering birth experience. And yes, you can have a positive, empowering C-section, and you could have a terrible home birth. Like, it's not, they're not mutually exclusive. So whether you're having a home birth, a birth center, a hospital, a medicated, non-medicated, C-section, whatever, may it be positive and empowering. And please share your story with me. I would love to hear it.